All Black squad was named yesterday, folks. What are 5 takeaways from that All Black squad that we can kind of read into, sometimes with selection, sometimes just with the kind of general situation here in New Zealand in terms of our rugby? We're going to go through 5 points that I've come up with, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on what other things you would highlight from this squad. For this one, I have written up a piece for Planet Rugby, so that'll be down in the description. There's a heap of rugby news going on. I'm certainly not covering all of it, but Planet Rugby has got heaps of kind of squad updates, winner and losers articles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, check out the article. There's a heap of good rugby content going on there. First point for mine, having a look at this All Black squad, that was one of my takeaways, was Aaron Smith is vitally important. They've named 2 other halfbacks in the squad, Finlay Christie and Cam Roigard. Now, Finlay Christie, he's been all right for the Blues. He certainly wouldn't be everybody's next choice 9 here in New Zealand. And he hasn't had that many starts at 9 for the All Blacks. He played in that most recent game against Australia, was replaced by Aaron Smith about halfway through, maybe a little bit later. He started against the USA, he started against Scotland last year, and I think Japan. But he's not had what you would call a heck of a lot of starts for the All Blacks in the number 9 jersey. It's more been the 21 jumper for him. And then you got Cam Roigard, who is this absolute hot attacking threat prospect player, but he hasn't ever started a game of Test rugby before. He's got heaps of potential. But would you rather Aaron Smith going into a knockout game for the All Blacks or Finlay Christie or Cam Roigard? Brad Weber. I'd love to see Brad Weber in the squad. I'd feel more comfortable with him there if Aaron was not available. But he's not in the squad. He might be the next cab off the rank. Who knows? There's a few other guys the All Black selectors could go for. But in terms of like the gap between our first choice guy and our next choice guy, I feel like number 9 is potentially the most kind of dangerous position. If Retallick not available, you can chuck in Whitelock. If there's no Richie Mo'unga, you chuck in Bowden Barrett. I feel like other positions we have a little bit more security than number 9 right now. That just seems to be the case for me. I mean, heaps of teams have got it. Sexton for Ireland, Pollard for the Box. Those are number 10s, where it's that kind of like key man. It's not just the playmaking positions, but sometimes it is. But right now, Aaron Smith, I think a lot is on his shoulders for the All Blacks. I'm also going to say that the All Blacks 15 didn't produce any All Blacks World Cup players. They may still get a chance because there will be injuries between now and whenever the All Blacks end their Rugby World Cup campaign. But yeah, none of the guys made it. Now, the All Blacks 15, this kind of second string All Black side, was largely a bunch of youngsters or guys who haven't had international caps just yet, fringe guys who might be there or thereabouts for All Black selection. But there were a few guys in that squad who you would say are relatively seasoned All Blacks campaigners. Brad Weber was there. He was asked to captain the side. Akira Ioane was there. He was the kind of premier 6 for the All Blacks for a couple of years, but then kind of fell off the pace. Jack Goodhue, with all his injuries, was still given a crack with the All Blacks 15 with a mind to maybe running yourself back into a bit of form. None of them made it. Nobody from the All Blacks 15 made it. You have to wonder if you were in a position like Brad Weber in future, where you know you're off at the end of the season, you're not staying in New Zealand, you've not made the initial All Black squad. I guess you want to keep your World Cup hopes alive, so you quite, I don't want to say happily, but you accept the role of this All Blacks 15 captain. Would you bother next time? Don't know. But it's interesting that, yeah, I'm sure it would have been sold to a lot of these guys as a way to keep your Rugby World Cup door open. But for the moment, that door remains pretty firmly shut. Like I said, things might change between now and then, but yeah, not for the moment. Another one, I'm going to say David Havili. He is pretty highly regarded by the All Black selectors, obviously. I've been having a look at the old depth chart data, which will be out for you guys very shortly. Yeah, David Havili has been the premier 12 for the All Blacks across this World Cup cycle. And when I say premier, I just mean he's had the most game time in the second 5 position for the All Blacks. He has been passed by Jordie Barrett in recent times. That's just a fact. Tupaia was in the mix until he got injured, and then Goodhue likewise was in the mix, but RTS was in the mix for a little bit. But David Havili still emerged across this entire World Cup cycle as the guy who had the most minutes at 12. And, not every All Blacks fan would agree that he is the guy. Some people criticise his defence, say he's, not quite got what it takes in terms of his attacking prowess. He's certainly a good playmaker, but the All Blacks must love him, the coaching staff, because he's the only guy who makes it into this All Black squad from the outside of the initial Rugby Championship squad. Nobody else has been like a bolter to get in. Like anybody who bolted like Civil Roygaard and whatnot came in from the ground up from the Rugby Championship. So ended Super Rugby and managed to get their foot in the door then. Nobody else has managed to do it. He was injured, so he wasn't available for that Rugby Championship squad. He probably would have been. But the fact that he was injured, plays a bit of Mitre 10 Cup, or not Mitre 10 Cup anymore, it's Bunnings NPC. He plays some NPC, plays half a game for Tasman, and is still able to get back into the squad where other guys maybe haven't. Speaks to how highly he is regarded by the All Black selectors. So, yeah, not an easy task to get back in after that big layoff, but Havili manages to do it. So, we'll see how he is positioned in terms of his selection for the team. Obviously, Jordie is still the guy at 12 at the moment, but yeah, clearly they regard him pretty highly. Next one I'm going to say is Super Rugby form. Does Super Rugby form count for anything? There's been arguments in the past that players who play really well at Super Rugby have been overlooked for All Black selection. Like Ben Lamb. I remember one year Ben Lamb was on absolute fire for the Hurricanes, didn't get selected by the All Blacks. And then other guys, sometimes get the old fast track. I seem to remember Jordie Barrett got relatively fast tracked into the All Blacks. Now, he's established himself as a regular All Black now, but initially when he was a bit younger, you could have argued that maybe he wasn't quite ready for the All Blacks. RTS jumps over from league. He gets fast tracked into the All Blacks, whereas other guys who've been working hard, maybe like Nankivell from the Chiefs, he never made the All Blacks despite being one of the premier midfielders in New Zealand for a while. So, does Super Rugby form count for anything? I'm mostly going to say yes, due to the fact that we've got Narawa in the squad, who had a cracking Super Rugby campaign, played one test for the All Blacks well, gets injured, but is still in the mix. He's still in the squad. Tamaiti Williams, he had a cracking Super Rugby campaign. He manages to get himself in the squad, albeit with, guys like Bauer and Moody being injured probably helped his cause, but still, he gets into the squad with some cracking Super Rugby form. Cam Roygaard gets into the squad with some cracking Super Rugby form. So, not everybody who had a cracking Super Rugby campaign got into the World Cup squad. Sean Stevenson didn't make it, but it's pleasing to see at least some of the guys were rewarded. Now, in the likes of a Roygaard, that Super Rugby form comes at the cost of a veteran like Brad Weber, which I'm not that happy about personally, but still, the fact that you can play well for Super Rugby and, get yourself into the mix, I think that's pleasing. Because if you just go with the tried and true guys only on reputation, I do think you're missing out on some potential talent. So, yeah, it's not everybody who is good form, but certainly enough of them that I think that form has been recognised. And lastly, I'm going to say Super Rugby teams. They are all relatively well represented. The Chiefs and the Crusaders were easily the two best teams from New Zealand in Super Rugby. And the Crusaders have got 9 players in the squad and the Chiefs have got 8. You could say that the Blues are a wee bit overrepresented with their 8. Guys like Nepo Lolala, Caleb Clark were maybe under the microscope a bit. The Hurricanes have got 5 and the Highlanders have got 3. So there's certainly, as I said, a swing towards the teams which had better performances, with the Blues being maybe a little bit overrepresented compared to some of the other sides. But I do think it's pleasing from a Super Rugby perspective that no matter what team you play for, a guy like Ethan de Groot can come through with the Highlanders and maybe get less publicity than if he was a prop for the Crusaders kind of thing, and still come through and now be our premier loose head prop. That's encouraging. Because if you're a young player and you're thinking about which team, if you've got a couple of offers on the table and you're looking to get the All Blacks, obviously you'd be looking at the Crusaders and go, well, that's the path. Well, 9 Crusaders, 8 Chiefs, 8 Blues. Maybe not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can genuinely look at your options and know if I play well enough, doesn't matter which team I'm playing for, I can get selected. So that's at least one thing which is kind of a little bit pleasing for me. But yeah, there you go, folks. There's certainly other takeaways that you could have from the All Black squad naming, but those not just selection based that I've kind of come up with in terms of, Samu Penifino was robbed. He should have made it ahead of somebody else. They've taken too many props and whatnot. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. What would your takeaways be from Fozzie's All Black squad? As I mentioned, there's an article down in the description for Planet Rugby. But yeah, you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.